Welcome to the Roll Call Podcast. I am Joe McGuire along with Dominic Zappone. And Dom, this has been a great season from the New York Yankees. They got off to an amazing start. And then they leveled off a little bit. And the haters right away, this team's not going to bounce back. People were really concerned. The pitching had been so good. And then through it all, we have seen performances from Juan Soto and Aaron Judge that are next level. Gleyber's been on fire the last month or so, and Giancarlo Stanton has been all I wanted from him this year, and it's been just enough.
Yeah, well, first of all, Soto and Judge probably the best duo we've seen, absolutely in my lifetime, probably since the '60s. This is an incredible duo. The Yankees are a very good team, man. 6 games up on the Orioles right now, entering this series with them, 3-game series. I am very excited for the playoffs. This is a good team. The pitching looks good. Bullpen has kind of evened out a little bit. They've shown signs of being a good bullpen. Luke Weaver, the new closer, has been awesome. So we've got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, it has been super exciting. Yankees have a chance tonight, opening up a 3-game series with Baltimore in the Bronx. They win the game tonight. They have clinched the American League East, which, not for nothing. Baltimore is supposed to be their year. Went out and got Corbin Burns, and it looked like maybe they had enough pitching this year. They've been fighting injuries and a lot of other issues, which is what happens to good teams. And it has affected them. The last 2 or 3 weeks, the Orioles have been pretty dreadful.
Yeah, that tough stretch we went through in the middle of the summer, they really did not take advantage of that at all. That's kind of where they could have taken this lead and ran with it, and they just did not. They also went through a scuffle like we did. So we're lucky in that sense, but they've continued to kind of just be like, eh. And we've seen that lead grow to now the largest we've seen all year, which is 6 games.
So we're going to preview this series a little bit more, but I want to look a little bit ahead with this team. And you and I had this conversation the other day, so I figured let's just have it here now. Jason Dominguez, is he on the postseason roster, or do you go with Alex Verdugo? I know he's mostly played like garbage this year, and you've been very vocal about that with me. Jason Dominguez, obviously last year looked like a superstar in the making, hasn't really hit much so far. As the Yankees in another week or so put that postseason roster together, who's your left fielder?
I'm going to continue to say it's Jason Dominguez. Yes, he's gotten off to a slow start, but he's slowly also starting to hit the ball a lot more. You're seeing the ball put in play more, good pieces of hitting. He's driven a couple home runs now. Alex Verdugo is coming off the bench, and he's a good defensive replacement for Dominguez for me right now. And I think a guy we haven't talked about, Trent Grisham, he's probably left off the roster, if anything.
Yeah, Trent Grisham also has produced pretty much nothing. He does hit home runs sometimes, and he does play great defense, but I don't know. Although, listen, Dom, I think historically speaking, he seems like the kind of guy the Yankees would put on their postseason roster, which might be problematic for either Dominguez or Verdugo.
Well, I can tell you right now, Verdugo will be on that roster. Grisham, I can't really say the same just because he's played one time in the last month, it feels like. And that's because Soto got scratched the other day. So I really just can't see a world where he's on this roster. If he is, he's not playing a lot at all, if anything. Dominguez is the guy. You called him up. He's got to get the consistent at bats. That's the problem. With Stanton hitting the way he is, there's not really a lot of room for both of them in the lineup, Verdugo and Dominguez. So I think you give it to Dominguez. I really do. I think he's just a better bat. The defense, I will say, Verdugo definitely has a step there. But then again, that's why you leave him on the bench and you pull him out, 7th, 8th inning as a replacement. There you go.
This team has showed great resiliency all season. And obviously, again, had that midseason dip. and have rebounded. The starting pitching especially. And I think Louis Gil and Carlos Rondon, I think, are two guys you really got to tip your cap to. I had said I thought Rondon was going to bounce back and have a good year. I don't know if I thought 15 wins, but I'll take it. Obviously, Louis Gil stepping in, also winning 15 games. This team has had enough pitching, and as this rotation lays out looking towards, postseason, I think the starting pitching's enough. So my question for you, Dom, is this bullpen good enough?
I think it is. I do. Thing is, Stroman, we haven't really talked about it a lot. Stroman's moving to the bullpen. We don't really know what that's going to look like because we haven't seen it yet. But I mean, he could be amazing out of the bullpen for 3, 4 innings following a Clarke or a Nestor starting. I mean, I think the bullpen's enough. We talked about Luke Weaver quick. He's been lights out as the new closer. He's electric. I love watching him pitch. Um, Clay Holmes, he's good to give up a home run every time he comes in. But besides that, I mean, Tim Hill, this guy we picked up from the White Sox, he's been great for us. I mean, there are enough pieces in this bullpen to win a World Series. I believe that for sure.
I think the key is going to be Aaron Boone not out coaching himself. I feel like he starts getting caught up in matchups and analytics, and it's like, dude, just go with the hot hand and have at it. He tends to overmanage in these situations. And again, you're looking at a bullpen by committee kind of situation. Nobody's got really extremely defined roles going forward. So his managing is gonna come in big with what he does with this bullpen, unless the Yankees just bash everybody's brains in with a lot of runs.
Yeah, I mean, again, talking about Luke Weaver, you can't overthink it, and he hasn't really. He's given Luke Weaver all the chances to close, and he's proven him that he can be the closer. So I think you got to stick with him there. Tommy Kahnle at the back end. I mean, it would be nice to have a Jonathan Loizaga. I think people are forgetting about him out for the year. That was tough. He would have been great in this spot, but I do think we have enough. And talking about the lineup, like you said, I mean, it definitely has the potential to be one of the best, if not the best, lineups in all of the postseason. So, I mean, I think it's down to can we hit? Because every year we go into it, it's like, oh, the lineup's good, and then we get to the postseason and nobody hits. So I think I think it's the lineup that we have to worry about, to be honest. And I'm not really that worried about it.
Yeah, one of the guys who I have often trashed and have been for the last couple of years, he's not the 38 home run guy anymore who plays crappy defense. He's like a 15 to 20 homer guy who plays really crappy defense. Obviously talking about Gleyber Torres, but man, I didn't like him in that leadoff spot. I was complaining to you just the other day. This guy's power has been poor all season. And then he goes on a tear at a leadoff spot, and he's looked really good.
I mean, he got put in that leadoff spot about a month ago, probably maybe a little bit longer. He's been awesome. He really has been. I've always had something. Glaber will always be a big part of my heart. I went to his debut, saw him there. I mean, listen, he's not going to be the 40 home run guy that we want him to be, but he has been the perfect leadoff hitter in front of Soto and Judge. And I know we kind of disagree on him. I don't think he'll be back next year. He is a free agent after this year, which I think is a little sad to see. But he's been awesome since he's gotten put in that leadoff spot. He's getting on base a lot. He's hitting the ball all over the field, and you're finally starting to see the home run ball a little bit too. So I'm excited for him as our leadoff guy.
My issue still with him is going to be the defense, especially in the postseason where you can't give outs. By the way, his batting average is now up to 254. This is a guy who's been hitting about 230 for most of the seasons, 15 homers. Guess who is third on the Yankees in walks on the season? Gleyber Torres. You talked about the on base showing a better eye this year. I will grant him that. I would have preferred 30 dingers. I'll take 15 if he continues to get on base, because after him, you're talking about Soto. You're talking about Judge. You're talking Wells, Stanton. There's a lot of guys that'll be there to knock you in. It's all about setting the table and really putting the pressure on pitching. Gleyber Torres gets on base, things start to get dicey immediately in that lineup.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you just talked about it a little bit. The depth in this lineup, it's something we haven't seen in a very long time. I mean, you go down the list after Soto and Judge, Wells, Stanton, Chisholm. I mean, all these guys are very, very capable hitters. If you get Glaber to start the inning on base, Soto and Judge are walking or they're getting a hit. I mean, this team has the potential to put up a lot of runs every single game.
Let's talk about Chaz Chisholm for a minute, because I know a lot of people, much like with Marcus Stroman, they were like, this is not a good team guy. Sometimes it's the team that you're on that makes you not a good team guy. And I think languishing in Florida with that awful organization was not doing anything for Chaz Chisholm. He came out of the gate smacking home runs for the Yankees at a record pace, even for a Yankee, when you consider Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Joe DiMaggio, and this guy through his first couple of games was being mentioned with those names. He's been fantastic at third base. And I hate guys playing out of position, Dom. I hate it. He's been very good there. And the Yankees defense, with him out of position, with Gleyber causing everyone else to be out of position, it really hasn't hurt this team that bad. But man, he has been such a spark, great energy, can steal a base. This guy's a little underrated, career high in homers. I like Jazz. I'm a big fan.
And him hitting 7th or 8th in the lineup compared to 3rd or 4th behind those guys, I mean, that makes a difference. The guy just loves being a Yankee. I mean, you see it every single time the guy talks to the media. He loves being a Yankee. The Old Timers Day, he was sitting in between all those guys from the 09 squad. I mean, biggest smile on his face. I think that has the biggest impact on everything. I mean, the guy just wants to be here, surrounded by great players. Judge being the biggest leader in the clubhouse, obviously. He's got guys to look up to. I mean, he wants to be here. He wants to play good and win. He couldn't say that really in Miami because he was just in a bad organization. I mean, like I said, him hitting 6, 7, 8. I mean, it's incredible. The depth in the lineup. I mean, Rizzo. We got to talk about Rizzo too. I mean, he's since coming off the IL, he hasn't been anything crazy. The numbers don't look great, but I mean, Rizzo hitting 8 in any lineup, that's a really good lineup.
Yeah, that is a really good lineup. And you say the depth of this lineup, I think especially come playoff time where, one of the things, Dom, and we talked over the past couple of postseasons here, the thing with the Yankees, it always ends up being they don't hit enough. It ends up not being the pitching. It ends up being the hitting. And I think when you look at the length of this lineup and the depth, if these guys can work the pitchers, if these guys can take a lot of pitches, draw walks, get hits, whatever, you're facing some of the top pitching in the postseason, but you got a guy up to 100 pitches in the 5th, he's gone.
I think this series against Baltimore is going to be a great show for that. Obviously, I think Dean Kremer goes tonight for the Orioles, but Thursday night we got Gerrit Cole versus Corbin Burns. That's going to be, first of all, a phenomenal matchup, but that's just going to show what the depth of this lineup looks like compared to the past few years. I mean, every year going into the postseason, the bottom half of the lineup was almost automatic outs every single time. It hasn't been incredible, but it's a lot better than we're used to seeing, which is why I think we have a real chance to win this year.
Man, this team has been so good. 8-2 on their last 10, 147 run differential. The Yankees have been fantastic on the road. They got 50 wins on the road. There's a lot to like about this team. And again, as you just said, this series with Baltimore, this is going to be a big series for the Yankees. And listen, they could win tonight and clinch and then lose the next 2. Nobody cares. I don't think that's what the Yankees want to do. I think this is your opportunity, if you're the Yankees, to make a statement. You got this team on the ropes. You wrestled the division away from them. You're at home now. I mean, if you could punch this team in the face, take at least 2 or 3, The sweep would be great, and then you go to Pittsburgh to end it. I think that's the way the Yankees would like to get into the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Set the tone. That's the thing. You really just got to set that tone. Be like, listen, we are the team to beat in the AL right now. Houston's going to be lurking. The Baltimore Orioles are still a very good team. I mean, we have to set the tone and be like, listen, this is the team you got to go through. The lineup, the depth is crazy. The pitching, Gerrit Cole. I mean, the other day, Gerrit Cole looked phenomenal. Rodon, outside of like 5 starts in June, has been awesome. He's got like an ERA under 3 without those 5 starts. Luis Heel, Rookie of the Year candidate. The bullpen, like we talked about already, I think it is good enough to get it done. We need to just set the tone and let everybody know that we're the team to beat.
Well, and also let's not forget too, you got Nestor and you got Clarke Schmidt, who's on the bump tonight. Again, whether the Yankees go to a 4-man rotation obviously would give you those 2 arms in the pen as well. And I think even with Nestor, you could probably have Nestor throw some relief in game 1 and he could start at game 3 or 4. You know what I mean? It's his versatility and his ability to I mean, he could play a really crucial role. He was a little upset last week when he got pulled from the rotation. Then they ended up settling on Stroman as the guy. And I got to tell you, Stroman's reaction to getting thrown in the bullpen was amazing. He was like, whatever I got to do to win this thing, man. Like, I'm cool with it. Nestor got a little bent and expressed some frustration. I guess it wasn't communicated to him that he was getting bumped and getting put into the bullpen. I mean, at least for now, he's back in the rotation. But again, I think those 2 guys, especially in the short series, boy, oh boy, those are a couple of nice arms to have available when you need them.
Yeah. We saw Nestor a little frustrated, obviously, and then he comes out and dominates in his next outing. A pissed off Nestor is certainly not a bad thing to have going into the postseason. And again, on Stroman, I mean, that's a guy you want on your team. He'll do anything it takes to win a World Series. That's the guy you want in your locker room. And like I said earlier, I mean, he's going to be really, really important for this team, whether it's starting or coming out of the bullpen and giving them 4 or 5 innings after somebody else. That's why I think the bullpen's going to be okay, because we have that extra depth. We have 6 starters right now that could all start, but somebody's going to get pushed to the bullpen. And I'm very comfortable with Stroman being that guy.
Yeah, good problem to have.
Absolutely.
Let's talk for a hot second about the American League MVP. It's a little early. I've recently heard a couple other names being jostled about Bobby Witt for one. Do you think any reasonable, logical human being could possibly look at this season Aaron Judge has had and select anybody else?
No. I think the only thing that I could say is fatigue setting in. I really think that's it. I mean, Judge is putting up one of the best offensive seasons we've seen ever. It's a lot better than the season he put up 2 years ago when he hit 62 home runs. Like, he's been a better hitter than anybody. Juan Soto is probably the second best hitter in baseball behind him, and it's not even close when you look at some of these stats, WAR, WRC plus. I mean, he's a monster. You look at Shohei Ohtani on the other side of it.
He's having a
fantastic year.
Yeah.
He's having a fantastic year too. But I mean, Judge statistically, he's just been the best hitter by far. And again, Bobby Witt's been incredible this year. Any other given year, he's the MVP in my mind, absolutely. But when you have a guy putting up these kind of numbers like Judge is, it's crazy to think that anybody else could win it.
Or my buddy Christine says timely hitting hasn't been the Yanks' hallmark in the postseason the last few years. Yeah, listen, when the Yankees were winning World Series after World Series, when I was a much younger man, it was all about clutch, timely hitting. It was guys like Scott Brocious hitting out of the 9-hole coming through. It seemed like in the late 90s, Dom, these guys, anytime somebody needed a big hit, it happened. It always happened. They always seem to come through. And the Yankees have definitely struggled. But I don't know. There's something about this team. There's something about just to to me, like I watch this team, I see the way the guys interact with each other, and it feels different than it's felt in the last couple of seasons. Again, they've been fun, playful. There's a lot of the handshake and that. I love all that. But there's just this team has a little bit of an edge, and I feel like they've had it all season.
Yeah, and again, kind of getting to the bottom of the lineup like we talked about earlier. You go Stan, Chisholm, Dominguez, Rizzo, and Volpe. I mean, that's an incredible bottom of the lineup for any team. So listen, Rizzo's not the same player he once was, but he's a guy that can get those timely hits when he has to. Dominguez, he's starting to get it going. Jazz Chisholm, we've seen it. He can hit in the clutch. Stanton, we know how Stanton is in the postseason.
I
He's
was
a
gonna
monster
say,
in the
you know what?
postseason.
For all the knocks on Giancarlo Stanton, when it comes to the postseason, my man not only shows up and plays, he produces.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm very optimistic about getting into this postseason because the bottom half of the lineup, for the first time in a very long time, looks the part, man. They have some incredible hitters down there. I mean, like we've talked about, if Glaber's getting on base like he is the past month, Soto and Judge, Wells is a rookie of the year candidate, and then the rest of that lineup. I mean, there's really not a lot of weak spots at all in this lineup.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love that.
It's fun to watch.
Man, it's been a long time coming for this team. It obviously the 15-year drought on a World Series championship has been awfully frustrating. But I don't know. This could be the year. And I'll tell you right now, I think Aaron Boone, I don't think anyone's really said this, but I think Aaron Boone is on the hot seat. And I wonder if Aaron Boone can't take this team to a World Series, does he have a job next season?
Well,
With the Yankees, I should say.
I I thought he should have been gone after last year, to be completely honest, because last year they were just awful, and
Mhm.
awful for our standards is still over 500, but we didn't make the playoffs.
Yep.
And we added Soto. This is the one guaranteed year of Soto, which is kind of why I was a little upset we didn't go further all in at the deadline. Chisholm's done a great ad, but this is the most open the AL has been in a very long time. The Astros didn't really get it going until the second half of the season. Obviously, they're the Astros; they'll always be there. The Orioles are not as good as we thought they would be. They're still a great team, but not as
Yep.
good as we thought would be. The Central, I mean, I don't think we really have to worry about the Central. The Guardians are always going to be a scrappy team. They're never going to be an easy out, but I think we could beat them. It's really just going to be up to can we get past the Orioles if we have to face them and the Astros. And I think this year we do stack up very well against them. The Astros pitching this year hasn't been the best. Verlander's, 47,000 years old. So, I mean, like, if Boone can't get it done this year with this lineup, I don't know what else we could give him to get it done. I really don't. And it's tough to say that, but this is probably the best lineup he's had as a manager of the Yankees. So I don't know.
That's my thought on this. Look, he was given a year. Him and Cashman were given you got to turn this thing around, and they've obviously done a phenomenal job, and they're in a really good position right now. But there's a question about whether Juan Soto will be here next year. There's a few guys question about if they'll be there next year, and a lot of that is going to depend on what happens in this postseason run. And I think with the team, the depth on offense and defense and the pitching, if he can't win with this exact group of 25, I would say he's got to go. That this would, to me, if they come up short in this one, he's out.
Yeah, I mean, again, you look at the lineup, you look at the starting pitching, the bullpen is like not as good as we once had it, but like the starting pitching in the lineup, this is the best lineup he's ever had by far, I think. The depth in this lineup is second to none. And again, on Soto, I mean, personally, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think the interactions we've seen between him and Judge in the outfield when they're chanting his name and the celebrations in the locker room and everything, I think he's a Yankee for life. Maybe I'm delusional. Hopefully not. But again, it does matter what we do in the postseason. We can't just, get knocked out in the first round or get swept in the second round, whatever it is.
Yep.
So we have to produce. Absolutely. I don't know.
All right. So here's what's going on. All right. Yanks again, 3-game set in the Bronx starting tonight. They win tonight. They win the American League East. That's very exciting news. As a matter of fact, they could win any game in this series and they'll have clinched the division. So again, let's hopefully they knock that thing out tonight. Now, we'll be back on Friday. And we're going to bring the heat here because we're going to cover this thing all the way through to hopefully World Series title number 28. Has there been one since you were on the planet?
Yeah, 2009.
Oh, just the 2009. I almost forgot about that one. Yeah, so that's all you've
2000, 2000, I guess. So I mean,
so you're an infant when those happened.
Yeah, I had to wake up and go to school the next morning for the 2009 one, so I couldn't stay up and watch the whole thing. I had to walk downstairs, and my parents had to tell me. I was like, "Oh, sweet! Now I got to go to school. Awesome."
Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully you get to enjoy this thing all the way through. I'm hoping.
Oh yeah.
CloverCrestMedia.com/The Roll Call Podcast is our website. Make sure you like, subscribe, download, do the whole nine. But we're gonna be with you all throughout the postseason. Dom, I'm looking forward to this series. Again, we'll come back on Friday, kind of recap what happened in Baltimore. We'll get set up for Pittsburgh the rest of the season, and then come back the following week. It'll be postseason time, and we'll have a full playoff preview. And it is on like Donkey Kong.
It came and went fast, man. I can't believe the season's almost over already.
Yeah, same here. This whole year is just absolutely ripped by. But here we are on the cusp of an American League East championship and perhaps title number 28. So again, back on Friday for Dom Zapone. I'm Joe McGuire. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Roll Call Podcast.